This is a 1969 MG Midget. I bought it about a year ago for $2,500. It hadn't run in about 30 years. I fixed the brakes and then I fixed about 47 other things. And now finally it is road legal and running great despite still sort of being a working project. In this video, I'm going to take you through my favorite quirks and features of these fun little sports cars and why they're just so awesome, especially for people who want a great driving classic sports car without having to empty the 401k, which, well, that's probably already empty, but whatever. If you guys are looking to get a classic car, I've got an amazing resource for you that just might save you a lot of money and a lot of headaches. I just recently released this mini course on buying a classic car and it's only $10. We go through everything from finding the right car for you, whether that's a car from the 40s or a car from the 90s, what to specifically look for when purchasing a classic car, and so much more. I've put a link in the description and I've made a promo code BART50 so that you guys can get it for half off, which is limited to 500 people. There's not a ton of them left, so act now, and it does make the course only $5. And hopefully it'll be a really good resource for you guys if you are looking to get into classic car ownership. Now, probably the best part about this car is just the overall design. It's so cute, but it's also sporty, simple, elegant, and timeless. I mean, this is a car that will never look bad. The size is really difficult to grasp unless you see one in person. You know, an ND Miata is roughly 25% wider, about 13% longer, and in terms of overall wheelbase, 13% more, and over 50% heavier. The only thing that is about the same really is the height. The Midget's original form, which was the Bug-Eye Sprite, was designed to fit in a bike shed. British folks don't have big garages like we do here in America, and honestly, I like that I have extra room in the garage for other toys. And it's also so light, you can easily move it around your garage, more like a motorcycle than a car. For whatever reason, one of the first things that people notice from the outside is this tiny windshield, and specifically these three minuscule windshield wipers. It's funny, the Cybertruck has the largest windshield ever and only has one wiper. This has got to be one of the smallest windshields ever, and it has 3 wipers. This little unassuming face, though, is the best part of the Midget design. It's such a far cry from modern cars and just all of the wannabe microaggression that's on pretty much every sports car today, even now the Miata. And I like it. It's very just happy looking. These are wire wheels, and more specifically knockoff wire wheels. This means that there's no lug nuts that you have to deal with to take the wheels off. You just spin them off with a mallet, and you don't have to tighten them super crazy either. The right side wheels are threaded opposite. This makes it so that the wheels are self-tightening on all 4 wheels as you drive forward, which is a pretty cool feature. Things get really interesting when you step inside the Midget, or crawl inside, whatever you gotta do to fit yourself behind the wheel of this thing. There's virtually no room in this cockpit. Like all great British Roadsters, the steering wheel is comically large. I love this original steering wheel. I think that 50 years from now, we might all laugh at all these aftermarket wood wheels that dominate the interior of a lot of British sports cars, but they don't really fit. You know, these original wheels, they're nice, they're thin, they're great to use, and they look amazing. But I will say that this kind of large steering wheel gives you a driving position that will feel very foreign until you figure out the right way to drive, and that is with your left hand and with your left elbow out the window. Interestingly enough, the steering wheel is actually slightly sort of cantered to that side, and some will tell you that this is because there wasn't enough room, you know, to have the steering column pointing straight at the driver, and I think that's baloney. I think that this is a design choice for really the best driving experience, which is to have your arm out the window and to be using that arm to drive, because if you don't have that arm out the window, there's hardly any room for your left arm. The gauges are really simple. There's a speedometer, a tachometer, and an oil and water temp. This temp gauge is actually mechanical, which I love, but you know, it's just all that you need. It's all very simple. These little switches and toggles are also comically small. What's really shocking in terms of the interior is what's not here. There's no cup holders. There's really no creature comforts at all. There's nowhere to store anything. There's not even a glove box. These door handles are something odd, especially from the inside. Their awkward position over here right up front instead of at the back of the door is because the original design for the Midget and the Bug-Eye Sprite before before, there were exterior door handles, was that you just opened the car by reaching into the inside and pulling up on this kind of cord. It's pretty bad, but these cars were built on a budget, so they basically kept the design essentially the same, but you have this weird handle thing. So yeah, with these cars, any way that they could avoid big design changes, they did to save money. This radio is working, and my car also has an FM adapter, which is pretty cool. But let's talk about some of the most important parts of really any sports car and classic car, which is the engine, the power delivery, and the driving experience. One of my favorite things about these British 4-cylinder engines is how simple and basic they are, and also just how much they look like loaves of bread. This one is actually about the size of a loaf of bread. The engine here in my 69 MG Midget is actually a special version among the different generations of the Midget, and some would say this is the best engine to have. Long story short, this is kind of the final boss version of the A-Series engine originally from Austin. If you know anything about the history of the Austin Mini and the Mini Cooper S, the original 1275 hopped up engine that was in the Mini Cooper S, they actually tried that out for this third generation Midget, but they ended up having to detune it because it was faster than MG's flagship MGB. Still, in many ways, this third generation Midget houses the best overall drivetrain of all of the MG Midgets. After this generation, for the rubber bumper Midgets, those would be powered by the Triumph Spitfire engine, but this engine is so much better. It's peaky, it's revvy, and it makes something like 55 horsepower, which is just enough for a 1,500-pound car. When you think of old British Roadsters and how they sound, it's this sort of amazing throaty roar. With the Midget and with the Sprite, everything is so much smaller, so what you get is this tiny, kind of cute version of that straight 4 roar that those cars had. It does have some of the deep bass notes, but it's just a lot cuter. It's such a unique, farty sounding exhaust, and I love it. I was watching someone recently say that with a new vehicle, you adapt the vehicle to yourself, but with a classic vehicle, you adapt yourself to the car, and I really think that's true. These cars are special, but they're so foreign to what we're used to with modern cars. I had an early 60s MG Midget, and that car was much more of a 50s car. This late 60s Midget feels more like a 60s or 70s car. Classic cars in general are so amazing. They are so fun to drive and so engaging, and you feel every little bit of the road. The steering on this car in particular is so tight and direct. You really have to pay attention to what you're doing while you're driving because things like the brakes are just not as good, and you do feel like you're in a death trap. Driving a classic car is kind of this 50-50 mixture of excitement and thrill and fun with just terror, and that's what I love about it. These specific little tiny sports cars, these tiny British Roadsters, are like go-karts for the road. They're so much fun. They're so different than so many other classic cars. So if you are looking to get a classic car that's affordable, I would definitely recommend one of these 60s MG Midgets, or if you want to save a little bit of money, you could get an MGB or an MG Midget from the mid-70s and on. Those are really cheap, and though they're not quite as good as these cars, they're still great, and you're still going to get that awesome classic car experience. Well, there you have it, my MG Midget and, maybe the world's smallest sports car. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, make sure to check out my buyer's guide mini course on how to buy a classic car, and we'll see you in the next one. Drive safe.